Welcome back. This is part 2 of my late spring renovation where I was battling Poa Trivialis for the last couple of years. Decided to kill it all off, and unfortunately the right time to do that is in the spring, which is not the right time to do a renovation. So I've had some struggles. Today I wanted to go over the parts where I actually did the seeding and the fertilizing and the peat moss and all that. So let's get to it. Okay, so if you missed the first part, I'll link to that up here in the upper right hand corner in the description down below. But the first thing I did before I laid the seed was to apply a bunch of potassium. Now my potassium levels in my soil test results were pretty low, so I decided to throw down 1.5 pounds of potassium. So with the 0050, that was 3 pounds per 1,000 square feet. And that really helps with water uptake and overall plant health. And going into the summertime, figured that would be a very good idea and a good time to do it right now. And then when it went to seeding, I used this drop spreader to go around the edges, and that way when I use the spreader, I'm not throwing a bunch of seed over into the sidewalk or the planters. Pretty easy to do. I wouldn't do the entire yard with a drop spreader because you'll end up with a bunch of striping, but it worked out great. Just get around the sidewalks without getting a bunch of seed in there or out in the gutters and around the planters and the trees, so that I don't end up with a bunch of grass seed in the mulch. And that worked out really well. As you can see, the wind has kind of become a challenge to this whole process, especially when it came to putting the peat moss down, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. Then when it came to spreading the actual seed, I used the perennial ryegrass from GCI Turf, and I put that down at a pretty high rate of 10 pounds per 1,000 square feet. But all I did was just poured out 35 pounds into my hopper and went around and spread it until it seemed like it was pretty even. There is no spreader settings for this. I don't remember what I used on the Echo. I think it was like a 4. But I just went back and forth until it was all evenly distributed. Obviously going north and south at one time, and then go back and do east and west. But this worked out really well. That Echo spreads pretty far and pretty evenly. Worked out really nice. So once I got it all spread the first time, I found I had quite a bit left over and ended up hitting it a second time. Now I've had this seed since last fall, so I kind of spread it heavy because I was a little concerned about the germination rate. But it turned out to be really well. When I was done with that, I went around with the roller and rolled everything in to make sure, absolutely sure, that I had good seed to soil contact. This roller is full of water, weighs quite a bit. My guess would be a couple 100 pounds. But it rolls pretty easy. Just went back and forth over it in both directions to make sure I had really good seed to soil contact, and then leveled out any areas that I may have, just by simply stepping on or running the spreader around, may have made a little uneven. And that worked out really well. After that, I decided to use the Green County Fertilizer Seeding Overseeding pack for this. So that's the 16-21-2 Green Start, and that you put down at 12 ounces per 1,000 square feet. And I also put in 3 ounces per 1,000 square feet of RGS, went around and did a trim pass, and then obviously just back and forth, evenly applying this until I had it all out. I used this in the renovation last year too, and it was absolutely fantastic. It worked great. Once that was done, it was a matter of just rolling the peat moss out. Now when I was doing this, if you notice, it's kind of windy. Made it a little difficult, actually blew some of the peat moss off in a few places, but using a peat moss spreader, let me tell you, is the best way to go. Made it fairly simple. It also helps with getting the bigger chunks of stuff that might be in the bag, ends up staying in that spreader, and you can just discard those or use them in a planter or something like that. But I got all that spread out evenly, and it worked out really nice. Once it was done, I put some caution tape up around, just kind of keep people and maybe their pets off, and just watered it really well. Now hang tight, and we'll get you an update it took about 8 days to get this to germinate. Once it did, as soon as it did, actually, it germinated on a Monday morning. By Monday afternoon, I had some pretty heavy rain and windstorm, which did a little bit of damage, but I managed to fix that, and it turned out pretty well. So this is 6 days post-germination. As you can see, it's filling in really nicely. There's a few thin spots from some washout I had to reseed just yesterday. I'm sure it'll fill in just fine. Stay tuned to see that as that progresses. If you found any value in this video, hit the like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you have any questions at all about the process I used, products I used, anything like that, hit me up in the comments down below. I'll gladly answer them. If you're looking for any of these particular products, there's links also down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.